How Netflix's no late fees promise buried Hollywood video. Picture this. It's 2005, and while everyone's talking about Blockbuster's dominance in video rentals, there's another giant quietly operating 4,500 stores across America. Hollywood Video wasn't just Blockbuster's scrappy competitor. They were the faster-growing, more aggressive chain that went from zero to industry titan in just 15 years. Founded in 1988 by Mark Wattles in Portland, Oregon, Hollywood Video grew at a blistering pace that made even Blockbuster executives nervous. By 2002, they were pulling in $1.4 billion in annual revenue and had become the second-largest video rental chain in America. But here's the kicker. While Blockbuster was the household name everyone loved to hate, Hollywood Video was actually growing faster, expanding more aggressively, and in many markets, they were winning the local battles. They had a simple but effective strategy: get to smaller markets before Blockbuster could establish dominance, offer newer releases faster, and create a more customer-friendly experience. Their yellow and black storefront became as recognizable as any major retail brand, and for millions of Americans, Friday night meant a trip to Hollywood Video. They weren't just renting movies. They were creating a cultural ritual that defined entertainment for an entire generation. But while Hollywood Video was busy fighting yesterday's war with Blockbuster, a little DVD-by-mail company called Netflix was quietly rewriting the rules of the entire game. In 1999, Netflix introduced something that sounded almost too good to be true: a subscription model with no late fees, no due dates, and no driving to the store. For $15.95 a month, customers could have 3 DVDs at home indefinitely. Reed Hastings, Netflix's CEO, had reportedly been inspired to create the company after getting hit with a $40 late fee at Blockbuster for Apollo 13, a story that became legendary in Silicon Valley circles. While Hollywood Video was opening new stores at a rate of nearly 2 per day in their peak years, Netflix was building something entirely different: a distribution center network that could reach 97% of Americans with next-day delivery. The contrast couldn't have been starker. Hollywood Video was investing millions in real estate, store fixtures, and inventory that sat on shelves. Netflix was investing in algorithms, logistics, and customer data. Hollywood Video measured success by foot traffic and inventory turns. Netflix measured success by customer retention and recommendation accuracy. One company was perfecting the old model. The other was inventing a completely new one. The late fee issue wasn't just a minor inconvenience, it was a massive profit center that the entire video rental industry had become addicted to. Industry analysts estimated that late fees accounted for roughly 16% of total video store revenues, and for Hollywood Video specifically, these fees generated over $200 million annually by the early 2000s. Customers hated late fees with a passion that bordered on the irrational, but video stores couldn't figure out how to survive without them. Hollywood Video tried various approaches to address customer frustration. They introduced a 5-day grace period and no rewinding fees for VHS tapes, but they couldn't bring themselves to eliminate late fees entirely because the math simply didn't work with their cost structure. Every Hollywood Video store required expensive retail space, usually 4,000 to 6,000 square feet in high-traffic locations. They needed multiple employees per shift, utilities, insurance, and massive inventory investments. A typical Hollywood Video store carried between 8,000 and 12,000 titles, with multiple copies of new releases that could cost them up to $65 per DVD to purchase from studios. When Netflix eliminated late fees, they weren't just removing a customer irritation, they were attacking the foundational economics that made physical video stores viable. Hollywood Video's management, led by CEO Mark Wattles, initially dismissed Netflix as a niche service for early adopters and movie buffs. This wasn't entirely unreasonable. In 2002, Netflix had fewer than 700,000 subscribers, while Hollywood Video was serving millions of customers weekly through their physical locations. The Netflix model seemed to have obvious limitations. You couldn't get instant gratification, you were limited to 3 movies at a time, and you had to plan ahead. Hollywood Video executives believed their competitive advantages were insurmountable. impulse rentals, immediate availability, the social experience of browsing with family, and the ability to get a movie right now for date night or a sick day. They invested heavily in improving their stores, expanding their video game rental sections, and adding more new release copies. In 2003, Hollywood Video acquired Game Crazy, a video game retail chain, and began incorporating game sales and rentals into their stores. They were doubling down on physical retail and trying to become a broader entertainment destination. What they didn't understand was that Netflix wasn't competing on convenience or selection. They were competing on a completely different value proposition that would eventually make physical video stores obsolete, regardless of how well run they were. The technology trend that ultimately sealed Hollywood Video's fate began in 2007 when Netflix launched their streaming service. Initially, streaming was just a free add-on for DVD subscribers, with a limited catalog of mostly older movies and TV shows. The quality wasn't great, the selection was underwhelming, and you needed a decent internet connection that many Americans didn't have. Hollywood Video's leadership looked at Netflix's early streaming offering and saw exactly what they wanted to see: a gimmicky feature that couldn't possibly replace the experience of renting new release movies. But Netflix was playing a much longer game than anyone realized. They were using their DVD subscription revenue to fund massive investments in streaming technology, content licensing deals, and data analytics. By 2008, Netflix had signed a deal with Starz that gave them access to 2,500 movies for streaming, and they were aggressively negotiating with other content providers. Reed Hastings publicly stated that Netflix's future was streaming, not DVDs, and that the DVD business was just a way to fund the transition. Meanwhile, Hollywood Video was still opening new stores and investing in physical infrastructure for a business model that was about to become extinct. The financial crisis of 2008 didn't create Hollywood Video's problems, but it certainly accelerated their demise. Movie Components, Hollywood Video's parent company, was already struggling with massive debt from their aggressive expansion and acquisition strategy. They owed over $400 million to creditors and were burning through cash as store revenues declined. The recession hit discretionary spending hard, and families started cutting back on entertainment expenses. Netflix, with their fixed monthly subscription model, was actually benefiting from the recession as families looked for better entertainment value. For the price of renting 3 movies from Hollywood Video, a family could get unlimited access to Netflix's growing streaming library, plus 3 DVDs by mail. The math was becoming impossible to ignore. Hollywood Video tried desperately to adapt. They launched their own online DVD rental service and even experimented with digital downloads through a partnership with a company called Cinema Now. But these efforts were too little, too late, and poorly executed. They were trying to compete with Netflix using Netflix's playbook, but without Netflix's technology infrastructure, data capabilities, or content relationships. It was like trying to win a Formula One race with a modified pickup truck. What made Hollywood Video's collapse so dramatic was how quickly it happened once the tipping point was reached. In 2007, they were still operating over 12,400 stores and generating substantial revenue. By 2010, they were completely out of business. The acceleration was breathtaking and brutal. Store closures created a death spiral effect. As Hollywood Video closed underperforming locations, remaining stores had to absorb higher overhead costs, making them less profitable and more likely to close. Customers started avoiding Hollywood Video stores because they were never sure if their local location would still be open next month. Employees jumped ship to more stable retailers, leading to poor customer service that drove away even loyal customers. Landlords began terminating leases early rather than dealing with a financially unstable tenant. The company's stock price, which had peaked at over $28 per share in 1999, fell to under $1 by 2009. Movie Components filed for bankruptcy in February 2010, and by July of that year, all remaining Hollywood Video stores were closed permanently. 22 years after opening their first store, and just 5 years after their peak, Hollywood Video was completely gone from the American retail landscape. The human cost of Hollywood Video's collapse was staggering and often overlooked in discussions about digital disruption. At their peak, Hollywood Video employed over 40,000 people across their stores, distribution centers, and corporate offices. These weren't just part-time jobs for teenagers. Many were career positions for managers, assistant managers, and long-term employees who had built their lives around the company. Store managers at successful locations could earn $50,000 to $60,000 annually with benefits, and many had worked their way up through the company ranks over 10 or 15 years. When the closures accelerated in 2009 and 2010, these employees had very little time to find alternative employment, and their specialized skills in video retail weren't easily transferable to other industries. Entire families lost their primary income source, and small communities lost significant employers. The ripple effects extended beyond Hollywood Video employees to the shopping centers and strip malls where their stores were anchor tenants. Many of these retail spaces remained vacant for years after Hollywood Video's closure, contributing to the broader decline of physical retail that was already underway. Netflix's victory wasn't just about superior technology or better customer experience. It represented a fundamental shift in how entertainment companies created value, and that shift left tens of thousands of people behind. The irony of Hollywood Video's destruction is that they were actually ahead of Blockbuster in recognizing some of the industry's fundamental problems, but they lacked the vision and resources to solve them effectively. Hollywood Video was first to eliminate VHS rewinding fees, first to extend rental periods to reduce customer frustration, and they experimented with subscription models and online ordering before Blockbuster did. They partnered with companies like TiVo and experimented with digital distribution earlier than most traditional video retailers. But all of their innovations were incremental improvements to a fundamentally flawed business model, while Netflix was building something entirely different from the ground up. Hollywood Video's management was trapped by their existing success and infrastructure. They couldn't abandon their profitable physical stores to pursue unproven digital strategies. But those physical stores became anchors that dragged them down as the market shifted. Netflix had no such constraints. They could focus entirely on building the future of entertainment distribution without worrying about cannibalizing existing revenue streams. This is the classic innovator's dilemma played out on a massive scale, but with the added twist that Hollywood Video was competing against a company that was willing to lose money for years to build market position and technological capabilities. Netflix's victory over Hollywood Video represents one of the purest examples of how technological disruption actually works in practice. It wasn't a sudden revolution where streaming immediately replaced physical rentals. Instead, it was a gradual process where Netflix offered a clearly superior value proposition on one key dimension, no late fees, while accepting limitations in other areas like immediacy and new release availability. Over time, as technology improved and consumer behavior shifted, Netflix's advantages became overwhelming while Hollywood Video's advantages became irrelevant. The lesson here isn't that Hollywood Video was poorly managed, or that their executives were incompetent. Mark Wattles and his team built one of the most successful retail chains in American history in just 15 years, growing faster than almost any comparable company in any industry. The lesson is that when fundamental technological and economic forces shift, even excellent execution of the old model can't save you from extinction. Hollywood Video's 4,500 stores, 40,000 employees, and $1.4 billion in annual revenue meant nothing when customers decided they preferred a completely different way to access entertainment. Netflix didn't just kill Hollywood Video. They killed the entire concept of physical video rental, and they did it so thoroughly that an entire generation of consumers can't imagine why anyone would ever drive to a store to rent a movie. That's not just competitive victory. That's complete industry transformation, and it happened faster than almost anyone thought possible.